Okay, so good morning again, everyone. Today we will discuss the self in the social world. So we all already learned that we are social beings in the social world. So that means we are doing social behavior within the social world. We interact with other people at or we do have different approach on how to interact with others. Of course, may ibang tao na mainitin ang kanilang mga ulo na makikipagsalamuha. May iba namang tao na chill lang. May iba namang tao ay some of us, we do as a cool-headed, or some of the people do things in a group, so on and so forth. Pero what explain why we have different social behavior in social world? From the past lesson, we learned that the most of the social behavior are just triggered by both external forces and internal forces. So as you can see on the screen, we have the self. It triggers two forces. First force is the external forces, which contains our history, our culture, and the outside appearance. Alright? So on the second forces, we do have the external forces, including the genes, the hormone, and of course, the brain. Okay? External, from the word itself, external, nasa labas. Internal naman, nasa loob. So, ang outside appearance is considered as external because nasa labas siya, nakikita ng eye. And the internal is the brain kasi hindi naman siya nakikita, sa loob siya. Alright? So, the combination of external and internal forces will be partially determine our social behaviors. But why? Bakit? Bakit partial lang, hindi i-full or hindi fully? Because there is another factor that we have to consider to better understand our behavior or other people's behavior in this social world. At etong tinatawag natin na self. This is another characteristic of the self in order to appreciate and understanding why people do what they do in the social world. So now, let's talk again the self. What is the role of the self in determining the social behavior in our social world? So as you can see on the screen, the self is awareness as individual. So it means you exist. Or if you believe that you exist, then you exist. Alright? Different, and you are different from the others. So as you can still remember our lesson that we have a different meaning or different approaches to self, diba? We have the I or the physic, the ego, the individualism, and the self. Alright. So of course, may tinatawag po tayong sa Tagalog na kasabihang wala sa sarili. Okay, it's because hindi na siya na-aware sa kanyang sarili. That person is not aware of sa kanyang mga actions, sa kanyang mga doing. It's because nga wala sa sarili. Okay, pag nawala na ang awareness niya sa sarili, of course, hindi na rin siya aware what she or he is doing. At hindi maganda ang nawawala sa sarili because basically, it is very critical part of our functioning because we are aware of ourselves, our connection to other people. So pag ikaw ay mawala na sa sarili, of course, mawawalan ka din ng communication sa ibang tao. Alright. So another thing you need to know about self, it has a basic components. Like for example, okay, the cell phone. So try to imagine the cell phone. iPhone 11, okay? Okay, you already imagined the cell phone. Para malaman natin na ang cellphone, or did you know that ang cellphone ay bago siya mabuo, dahil sa mga smaller parts niya. And again, cell phone consists many smaller components. Okay, ganun din po ang self natin. As you can see on the screen, we have here on the upper right side, 'di ba? Ang tao, ang self, ay nabubuo sa mga smaller components. It's just like a cellphone. Bago mo matawag na cellphone siya, kailangan mo nang buuhin. Of course, we have the screen, we have the battery, we have the microchip, we have the SIM card, the protector, and whatsoever camera para mabuo siya sa cellphone. Ganon din po si self. Hindi lang naman po si cellphone ang may example. Of course, we have the car. Bago mabuo yung car, of course, it consists of many parts. Aside from that, meron pa tayong aircon. Bago mabuo na aircon yan, of course, meron yung nag-consist ng mga smaller parts. Ganon din po yan sa self. And these smaller parts is the psychological components of the self. So we have four. We have four. Okay? We have the self-concept, self-esteem, self-efficacy, and self-presentation. Before we proceed on into a deeper knowledge on the psychological components of the self, this video contains only for or explaining the two psychological components of self, which is the self-concept and the self-esteem. So on our next video po soon, si self-efficacy naman at saka si self-presentation. Alright. So we really need to understand each components because kapag mas naiintindihan natin ang pananaw na ito, the more we will be able to understand our social behaviors, the more we will stand, of course, the others. Alright? Bakit sila ganun? Bakit sila ganyan? Diba sometimes sa mga classmates natin or sa mga classmates natin or mga friends natin, bakit kaya ganito si friend number 1? Bakit ganyan si classmate number 1? Si classmate number 2? Bakit ganun ang ugali niya? Of course, para maintindihan natin muna maintindihan natin sila, we have to deepen our knowledge about self-concept and self-esteem. Alright? So, our social behavior is determined by the smaller components of the self. At the same time, yung trigger na nararanasan natin sa ating sarili. Alright? So, let's talk about the self-concept. But before we will proceed to explaining the self-concept, we will solve this case. Okay? Tingnan muna natin. So, kindly read what's on the screen, please. Alright. You already read what's on the screen, and if you want, you can pause for a moment, or if you want, you can take a screenshot. So before we will solve that case about the self-concept, we will use a self-concept on this case, alright? So what is self-concept? So self-concept is a fact and beliefs about yourself. So it means, or it simply means, the general information. Okay. Ito din po yung ito yung tipong I am a Christian. Okay? I am a student, or I am a college student. I am a teacher. I love sports. Alright? So yun yung self-concept. And of course, dito masasagot natin sa self-concept ang tinatanong palagi, who am I? Okay? Who am I? So, I am Maria Bernadette Makasait, and I am a teacher. Alright? So, I am a Christian, or I am a Roman Catholic, and of course, I love sports or whatsoever. That's the self-concept. So, social psychological principle, how you see yourself guides how you socially behave. So, did you know that, guys, kung ano yung pananaw mo sa sarili mo, ay ganun kang mag-behave sa community or sa social world. Alright? So, by this, paano ba natin ma-identify na how we believe in a certain or how we behave in a social world? So, of course, we shape by our social role. Okay? Social role, it means what we constantly do or ano yung mga actions natin. Alright? Ano yung mga actions natin? So, of course, the concept, ito yung hindi lang natin basta nasa loob ng ating isip. But this belief that we have about ourselves constantly guide our social behavior. Nagiging basis ang pinaniniwalaang kung ano ang ginagawa natin sa sarili, ay yun din po yung nagre-reflect sa social world. Of course, for example, basta tayo doon. And then, first one is the shape by social role. So, naapektuhan ng self-concept kung ano ang social roles natin. Naapektuhan din ang ating behavior. So, the more you do it, okay, the more you do it, or the more actions you do it, the more yung attitude or yung role. For example, okay, sa Stanford, okay, nakalimutan ko, wala lang dito sa screen, no, pero sa Stanford Prison in experiment, ginawa ito ha, this is a movie ito, totoo itong nangyari. Stanford Prison Experiment, kindly search that on YouTube or in the Google, okay? Totoong nangyari ito sa Stanford. So, meron silang research regarding role-playing, okay? To make the movie shorter, kwento ko na lang yung summarize, yung highlights, okay? Alright, ganito ang nangyari. Kumuha sila ng mga mababait na estudyante, okay? Kinulong nila yon. Nag-role-playing sila. Kalahati ng mga estudyante is sila yung guard or the prison guard. And then, ang kalahati naman ng estudyante is the prisoner. Alright. Of course, the role itself na binigay sa kanila altered of the self-concept. Kasi nga, yun yung role na pinanindigan nila. Of course, yung kalahati ng mga student na mababait guard, they should be tough. They should be strict. And of course, they are dominated. Samantalang, ang prisoner ay helpless, weak, and they are inferior. So, nagulat sila, role-playing lang naman ang ginawa, pero bigyan nila ng justice yung kanilang role. Hindi nila nasa isip na, ay, role-playing lang man to, research lang to. No! Pumasok si the altered of the self-concept kasi yun yung role nila. Okay? The roles that we play affect the way you see yourself. For example, ang role mo sa pamamahay mo ay ikaw yung panganay. Ano ba ang role ng panganay? 'Di ba minsan si panganay bossy, palautos. Siya naman, ang iba naman, yung role naman ng panganay is the breadwinner. And of course, the successor. So, yun yung role mo sa family mo. For example, ano ka naman? Bunso. So, ikaw yung medyo tamad, bahala ka na ate. So, kasi yun yung role mo. So, the role that we play affects the way how you see yourself. Kasi nga, ako ang panganay. Kasi nga, ako ang bunso. Okay? Alright, so, the second one, after shaping by the social role, we have the group membership. Kung saan tayong nabilong ng grupo. Kaya nga may kasabihan tayo, 'di ba? Tell me who your friends are, and I tell you who you are. Dati, nung yung kasagsagan ko pang magbabarkada, sinasabi ko, hindi ibang-iba ako sa mga kaibigan ko. So, bakit mo sila naging kaibigan kung magkaiba kayo ng pananaw? Of course, your group member or your friends change the principle or yung pananaw mo sa buhay. Alright? Kunyari, for example, okay? Ganito. Sumali ka sa isang grupo na mga pangkista. Okay, pangkista. Hindi tayo ano ng mga terorista, wag yun kasi nasa YouTube tayo eh. Alright? So, pangkista. So, ano ba yung concept ng pangkista? Of course, they wear black. They wear eyeliner na maitim. And of course, kailangan mahaba yung buhok ng iba. And medyo may pagka-rock and roll yung dating. Pero punk lang. And they love punk music. So of course, ikaw na sumali, i-a-adapt mo din yung culture na kung anong meron yung pangkista na grupo. So that is the principle of changing of yourself. Pasok siya sa self-concept. Kasi nga, sumali ka sa grupong pangkista. Part siya ng group membership. Hindi naman pwede nga sumali ka sa grupo na yun, pero ikaw mag-iiba ng style. Diba? So, ang tawag doon, indoctrination. Tuturuan ka. Mali yan, ang pangkista kasi itim kasi tayo, no? Nakikita kahit mag-search ka pa sa Google, wala namang pangkista nakaputi lahat. Wala namang pangkista na nakagown. Weirdo ka nun, ang tawag nun. Hindi pangkista. Alright? So, sa group membership, always remember we have the indoctrination or tuturuan ka ano ang culture nila inside the group. Alright. Okay. So, let's solve the case using the self-concept. So, as you can see on the screen, the red one po, as a boyfriend, he believes that it is his role to provide for all his girlfriend's need. He should be the one to always save her when she is in trouble or when she needs something. He believes that when he fails to do any of this, he fails being a boyfriend. So, ibig sabihin nito, dito pa lang, as pagka-boyfriend pa lang niya for 10 years sa kanyang jowa, pagod na siya. It's because the self-concept niya dito is hindi pang boyfriend material. Alright? Pang husband material. Kaya siguro napagod siya kasi boyfriend pa lang siya ng babae, ay ang concept niya sa sarili ay pang asawa na. Alright? Nagigets po? Okay. So next, we will move on kay self-esteem, right? But before we proceed kay self-esteem, we will try to solve the case again. Can you read what's on the screen, please? Okay, so after reading, you can pause for a moment or you may take a screenshot. Before we will answer this case using the self-esteem, of course, we will discuss what is self-esteem. So self-esteem is evaluative statement about self, alright? So when we talk about evaluative, from the word itself, value. Okay? Paano mo pinapahalagahan ang sarili mo? Okay? How do you think you are is your self-esteem. If may kukumusta ta sa atin, uy, kamusta ka? Eto, I feel good. I feel complete within myself. So, pasok si self-esteem doon. Uy, kamusta ka? I'm not okay. I'm very, very sad. I am very, very tired. So, mababa yung self-esteem mo nun. Pasok pa rin siya sa self-esteem. It is how you value yourself. Okay? Self-esteem can be measured. Alam niyo ba yun na pwedeng i-measure yung self-esteem? It is by Rosenberg's self-esteem scale. Alright, self-esteem is the overall value or love you give to yourself. how much you value yourself, how much importance you give to your feelings in tough situation, and also this determine the level of self-esteem you have. Self-esteem plays a very important role in the personal and professional success of an individual. So as you can see on the screen, ito yung mga taong low ang self-esteem. So I can't do it, I am not worthy, I must be perfect, I must not make a mistake, I'm not good enough, and nobody loves me. Yan yung mga linya ng mga mabababa ang self-esteem. Alright? And eto naman po ang linya ng mga matataas yung self-esteem or it has high self-esteem. Alright, so I am loved, I am valuable, I am unique, I am great, I am priceless, I am amazing, I am beautiful, I am a star, and etc. Alright. So, self-esteem, social psychological principle self-esteem can influence by our behavior. Did you know that? And of course, kagaya niyan, pasok ito si personality disorder na meaning, pasok siya kay low esteem, right? So, a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior or specified kind that deviates markedly from the norm of generally accepted behavior. So, ito yung ayaw ng rejection. Alright? Ito yung mga taong feel nila they are failure. And of course, if you have the personality disorder, right, dapat walang meaning yan eh. Tanggalin, sorry. So, if nakaka-feel ka ng ganitong personality disorder, of course, there are times depressed ka or it can lead into suicide. Right? So, we should be very careful sa mga taong bababa yung low esteem. Kasi nga, bababa yung low esteem. May low esteem sa sarili nila. It's because they are tend to have depression or pag worse, magsusuicide sila. Okay. So, that is personality disorder. Ang example nun is depression and suicide. Okay. What influences self-esteem? Okay, dito natin masusubukan kung meron kang mataas na self-esteem or mababang self-esteem. Okay, the first one that contributes on a self-esteem is a physical attractive. Maganda at guwapo. Sexy at macho. As you can see on the screen, maganda at guwapo. Okay, pero hindi ko yan sila kilala kasi kinapi-paste ko lang din yan siya sa Google. Yun ang nakita ko kagad na maganda at guwapo. Okay, physical attractive, beauty is not subjected. Contrary to the popular belief, men and women generally agree. Even you guys, you agree na unang-una talaga na nagbo-boost ng self-esteem is the physical attractiveness, right? Even if Muslim ka man, you are American citizen, Filipino, or saan ka man sa lupalop ng mundo, kung maganda ka, nakaka-boost ng self-esteem. So the first one is, life is better when you are beautiful. So, pasok siya sa physical attraction. It's very, very true that life is better when you are beautiful. Iba ang treatment kasi ng mga tao towards people na maganda or guwapo. Because according to an article, it is easier for beautiful people to find mates. So when we talk about finding mates, yung tipong, ako maganda, kaya ko magjowa ngayon na within the week. Wow, sana all. Kasi maganda ako eh. Ako guwapo, macho. Kaya kong maghanap ng dalawang jowa within the week. It's because you have this physical attractiveness. Kaya mataas yung self-esteem mo. Okay? Totoo, unfair naman ang world. Paano naman kami mga pangit? Pasensya, hindi ganun ang trato sa inyo. Alright? Men seek. Okay, men seek. Naghahanap ang mga lalaki na mga attractive na women. And of course, vice versa, women naghahanap din naman ng attractive na men. Because good looks signal the youth, health, and reproductive fitness. Therefore, ang mga may physical attractive na matataas na self-esteem, it's because of gwapo and maganda sila. Dito yung mga low rejection na rates. Hindi sila kaagad o bihira silang mabasted. It's because maganda ako. It's because gwapo ako. Hindi mo ako mahihindian, makukuha ko yung oo mo kasi gwapo ako. Ikaw naman babae, makukuha ko yung gusto kong itsura din ng lalaki kasi maganda ako. Right? So, whether we like it or not, the world is unfair because we will treat people not the same, pero mas more on in favorable tayo sa mga gwapo at magaganda. Aminin man natin o hindi. For example, another example, K-pop. Hindi ka naman kilala ng K-pop, pero ikaw gwapong-gwapo ka sa ano mo, sa mga idols mo. Kung makatili ka, Diyos ko, grabe ka kakirig-kirig. Pag hinalikan ka na hindi mo kakilala, pero gwapo, okay lang. Diba? Okay lang, gwapo naman siya, guys. Kilig-kilig ako. Pero, pag ang pangit ang humalik sa'yo, Diyos ko, demanda mo ng pambabastos, panghahalay, pambubuli. Pero pag gwapo ang gumawa yun, ay, okay lang, sige, ulitin mo papakis. Wala lang. Wala paki, kasi nga, gwapo. And that is unfair. It's because of the sinasabing gwapo and maganda. Physical attractive. Alright. So next, beautiful people are more persuasive. When we talk about persuasive, it is the command. Okay? Yung sarili nila kagad yung binibenta nila. Hindi yung pangit na meaning na binibenta. Yung sarili pa lang nila, yun yung produkto na tipong, alam mo, honey, kung maganda kang babae, tapos yung jowa mo is mayaman lang, alam mo, honey, gusto ko ba ng bag na tag 13,000? Bibilhan mo ako. Siyempre, pag maganda, bilhan ka kaagad. Pero pag ikaw pangit, maghingi ka ng bag, honey, pahingi ng bag. Hoy, di bagay yan sa beauty mo, bagay lang yan sa mga gaganda at bastos na tao to. Okay? Persuasive, meaning, good-looking people can use their sex appeal to command attention and get that thing. In other words, when you are an attractive person and when you speak, okay, or ask favor or request, most likely you persuade them to do what you want to do. Alright. Because people believe in you. Oo lang yan sila ng oo. Sige, bilhin natin. Sige, gawin natin. Diba sometimes, pag makipag-meeting tayo sa ating mga kliyente or makipag-meeting tayo sa ating mga friends, lalo-lalo na kung may favor tayo, kailangan naman din natin mag-ayos. Or even if it's not friends, yung tipong casual lang na meetings na may hihingiin kang pabor, lalong-lalo na sa mga babae, always see to it na pag ang ka-meeting mo ay lalaki, whether married man yung lalaki or hindi ito bastos guys ha. Ito yung natutunan ko sa, of course, sa mundo, sa society natin, sa social world natin. Even if not seducing ang tawag dyan, kung magpapaganda ka, it is the way how you represent yourself. Kasi nga sabi nila, pag maganda ang kausap, tango lang ng tango yan mga tao. O kung gwapo ang kausap, tango lang din ng tango yan. Lalo na kung nagkumbay ang pagiging maganda at matalino mo, tango lang ng tango yan. And of course, ang pagiging matalino ay pasok pa rin po siya kay self-esteem. Lalong-lalo na sobrang apaw ang self-esteem mo if you're already beautiful at the same time matalino. Alright? Sino bang gaganahan magpag-meeting kung may laway ka pa sa mukha mo, hindi ka man lang naghilamos? Sino ba gusto may pag-meeting na ang buhok mo galak? Parang hindi ko maintindihan kung blower mo ba yan o kagigising mo lang. Sino gusto may pag-meeting na may muta ka pa? Of course, you have to be beautiful. Paano kung hindi ako beautiful? Di magpaganda ka. Wala mang problema yun. Maglagay ka ng makeup. Kung sa tingin mo mas maganda kang may makeup, edi maglagay ka ng makeup. Kung sa tingin mo mas maganda ka kung simple makeup, edi yun ang gawin mo. Alright? Okay. So, by the physical attractive, dito mabubuo ang self-esteem because you are an important person. Importante akong tao. I believe importante akong tao is because I am beautiful. It's because I am handsome. Kaya ako nagiging importante. And that boosts your self-esteem or the self-confidence. Alright. Next factor, friend. Friend ang nag-boost kay self-esteem. How friends treat you, what they communicate you. So according to Anna Taylor, a true friend is not measured by how often you see them, but how much they see you, who you really are. And someone who is willing to stand up for you when life tries to pull you down, and who loves you without any questions. That is the quote of Miss Anna Taylor. So, pag makikita mo pag may mamit ka na ganitong klaseng friend or may ganitong na talaga kayong klaseng friend, malaki ang impact nila sa'yo. Whether you have a high self-esteem or low self-esteem, pag may ganito ka mga kaibigan, malaki ang impact nito sa'yo. It's because a friend who always stand by you through tough times, hindi lang yung good times, through kahirapan mo, through tough times mo. Therefore, kung may ganito kang friends na ma-feel nyo na kayo ay importante or important, you feel important, then pasok o malaking bagay siya na may self-esteem ka. Alright? So, pasok kay friends ang bullying. Okay? Bullying is risk for low self-esteem, especially sa mga taong wala na nga self-esteem or mababa na nga yung self-esteem, binubuli pa natin or binubuli pa ninyo, okay? So, makinig mabuti, especially na kayo mga estudyante, mahilig kayo mambuli. Hindi nyo alam ano ang pinagdadaanan ng isang tao, tinatawanan nyo pa. Paano? Kung victim siya ng bully, pero kayo bully ng bully, and nag-suicide siya. Kasi mababa na nga yung self-esteem niya, ninakawan nyo pa siya lalo ng self-esteem. Nag-suicide siya or na-depress siya. So, you see guys, you always put love and understanding in every situation that you will have. Bakit siya ganun? Bakit siya ganyan? Intindihin muna natin. We have to know the factors, yung self-concept niya at self-esteem ng isang tao. And that's just because na nakakatawa, it is funny, ipagpapatuloy nyo pa rin, pinagtatawanan nyo pa rin. And then, pag namatay or nag-commit ng suicide, sasabihin, mahinang nilalang. It's not about that. It's about having the self-esteem. So, iwasan natin as much as possible ang bully or bullying. Please. Alright. Now, we have the third factor sa self-esteem. We have the infant attachment. So, relationship or the relation with the caregiver. And when we talk about the caregiver, during the infant mo pa, is your parents or sino man ang guardian mo. Okay? We have two, nahahati siya sa dalawa. Securely attached infants. Ito yung mga social behaviors sila. And insecurely attached infants. So, ano ba itong securely attached infants? Nakuha niya itong love and care. That is why ang naging social behavior niya is very, very healthy, successful in society, less prone to psych disorder, ito yung mga depression, ito yung mga suicidal thoughts, and of course, healthy and it has a lasting relationship. Ang insecurely attached naman ng mga infants, ito yung mga less care and not love at all. Di ba merong mga bata na hindi talaga ginusto ng mga magulang nila? Sadly, it's very, very sad, but it is true. May mga ganong ibang nanay or tatay na ayaw nila sa mga anak nila or hindi nila mahal. It's because of mga early pregnancy or unwanting na child, yung nabuntis lang, nagpakasarap lang, pero pag nung nabuntis, nabuo ka or nabuo yung bata, wala nang pakialam sa'yo. Pasok siya kay insecurely attached infants, the social behavior. Of course, nakukuha niya yung psych disorder, depression. And of course, worst things worst, yan po yung suicidal thoughts. And the high suicide rates, kasi nga may depression. Of course, trust issues. Paglaki nila, wala silang halos tiwala sa mga tao. Ilang sila kay lahat na lang praning. Kasi nga, walang care and walang love during the stage na bata pa sila. And of course, premarital sex. They are highly engaged kay premarital sex. It's because iniisip nila ay tataas ang self-esteem ko or value sa sarili ko if ibibigay ko ang lahat-lahat, including my body. Kunyari, si Maria na i-love kay Juan. So, si Maria, hindi niya naranasan ang pagmamahal ng kanyang mga magulang or mga taong mahal niya sa palibot niya. Kulang yung pagmamahal na nakukuha niya. Of course, first time ay love ni Maria sa isang tao, ibibigay niya lahat yun, including the body. That is why na-engage siya kay premarital sex. Alright? So, pag may premarital sex, may tendency na early pregnancy. And of course, pag may early pregnancy nangyayari, and it is the unwanting ng mga children, mag-iikot-ikot lang ang sitwasyon. Yung nafe-feel mong insecurely attached na nung bata ka sa parents mo with has less love and less care, yun ipapasa mo na naman yun sa magiging anak mo. Kasi nga, ang pagiging nanay or tatay or ang parents is mahabang proseso. Mahabang proseso that you will take it, dapat ready ka. Eh di ba nga, unwanting, ibig sabihin ayaw mo mabuntis pero nagpakasarap ka. Maliban na lang kung you want it. Kahit sabihin natin, pasok ka kay premarital sex and kay early pregnancy, and naisip mo you have to cut the continuous na insecurely attached infant, you have to be very ready as a mother, as a parent. I am ready now. Aalagaan ko tong bata. Puputulin ko sa akin na kaagad yung insecurely attached ko during bata pa ako. Aalagaan ko to, mamahalin ko to, and pasok siya kay securely attached infants. Maliban na lang kung ganun ang nasa isip mo. Alright? So, of course, if you feel not loved by everyone, especially when you do not feel any love sa parents mo, we have the last factor na mag-boost kay self-esteem. And we have the faith. Last but the very, very important of all is the faith. It is very related on our self-esteem and our behavior. Because once you have an active faith, you have a very intimate feelings or relationship with God. Okay? Malaki ang kinalaman, ang malaking pananampalataya sa Diyos. Because, especially that you are a straight Christian or whatsoever, na Muslim, or ano pang religion mo, dito mo mararanasan kay faith. Okay, kay faith, how valuable you are as a person to God. Meron tayong kasabihan, si God lang sapat na. Because the love of God umaapaw sa akin. Alright? So, if the infant attachment yung love na kailangan mo sa parents mo ay wala, always remember that there is a last factor, which is the faith. Lakihan natin yung relationship natin kay God, hindi yung relationship natin sa jowa natin na nakakalimutang magsimba every Sabbath day. I know not all of you are Catholics. Some of you are Adventists. Some of you are Muslims. Huwag natin walain kung anong araw man yung kailangan lang ni God. Isang araw lang yun. And sometimes yung mga Katoliko, isang oras lang sa isang linggo. Alright? Lakihan natin. Hindi yung lakihan natin pagmamahal natin sa jowa natin. Tapos pag mabuntis, unwanting na child, ayaw mo na. Ulitin mo lang naman din yung kultura na mangyayari sa magiging anak mo. Less love and less care. And if they feel that way, of course, they will have to intend the disorder na a psych disorder, which is the depression. Worst things worst, papasok si suicide. Lakihan natin ang pananampalataya at paniniwala at pagmamahal kay God. Alright? So as you can see on the screen, this is the 3 verses. Kung gaano kalaki ang pagmamahal ng Diyos sa atin. We have the Romans verse 5 chapter 5 verse 8. But God showed His love towards us in that while we still sinners, Christ died for us. And of course, we have the Luke 12:6-7. Are you not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than any sparrow or many sparrow. And of course, ang pinaka-nakakilala sa lahat ng verse, we do not forget, ito yung pinaka-kilala sa lahat ng verse, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. Okay, ito yung message from God, or ito yung messages that you are important, that you are worth dying. Ano to worth dying na ito? Jesus died for us in order to save us from all the sins that we have in this quote-unquote social world at makasalanang mundo. You are worth dying for. When you feel that you are not worth dying for, then mababa pa rin ang self-esteem mo. Then low self-esteem ka pa rin. But when you realize or you feel that you are worth dying for, tumataas ang self-esteem mo. And marirealize mo that you are someone important in the eyes of our God. That is why si faith ang pinaka-last, pero pinakamalaking factors on how to boost your self-esteem. Alright? So that is the another character for this one. And of course, triggers, external forces and internal forces. Learnings. But before we proceed to the learnings of this, we will sagutan natin. Okay, sagutan natin yung tanong dito. Solve this case, self-esteem. So of course, dito sa red, okay, makinig. Dito pa lang, meron siyang suicidal thoughts. Kaya upon checking, meron siyang suicidal thoughts. So he reveals that he doesn't want to live his life anymore. He feels useless as a person. Of course, he checked his file as a guidance counselor and found out that the students took a psychological test on self-esteem and he scored low in the test. Alright? So, ano yung possible na solution for this? Sa natutunan ko during this stage for the self-esteem is to have, or as a, kunyari ako ang guidance counselor ha, may mga activities dapat na gagawin si student na ito or ang tao na ito para mag-boost ng kanyang self-esteem. Kahit katiting lang. And when we talk about katiting lang, merong development ang nangyayari. Merong progress ang nangyayari. And of course, mag-iisip pa ng another activities to boost their self-esteem. Of course, ang ibang tao naman, nagbo-boost ang kanilang self-esteem kung tipong if they accomplish something. Okay? Part yan ng activity. And that's the solving of this case under kay self-esteem na approach. So, at the end of this lesson, ano yung mga natutunan natin? Unang-una, you should always give, diba, as you can still remember kanina, bakit ganito si ganyan, at bakit ganyan si ganito. Yung taong to, kunyari, mag-name tayo, bakit ganyan si Ana, bakit ganito si Jose, bakit gano'n naman yung kasama kong teacher, puro may mga bakit, diba? So, instead na magalit tayo kaagad sa isang tao, we always put love and understanding in every situation that we have. Kasi hindi po sagot na magagalit ka kaagad or mag-burst out ka kaagad o bigla ka mag-freak out at sinigawan mo, yun pala may dinaramdam din siyang hindi maganda. Why not? Always talk to the certain persons, palagi mong bakit ganito si ganyan, bakit? Always assess or evaluate the two concept of the self, yung maliliit na parts, yung small parts of the self. You have to evaluate yung self-concept niya sa sarili niya and the self-esteem niya. Of course, maa-apply mo din ito sa sarili mo. Bakit kaya ako ganito? You have to reassess, you have to re-evaluate yourself or the other people in order to understand them. Okay? Always put love and understanding in every situation that you have. Hindi po magalit ka agad kasi yun ang solusyon. And it never be the solution na magagalit kayo kaagad sa isang tao. Malay mo, ikaw ang isa sa number 1 na sinasandalan ng pala niya kaya siya ganito or kaya siya ganyan. Alright? So I hope you learned something from this discussion. On our next video, we will talk about the last two, which is the self-efficacy and the self-presentation. Alright? So I hope you stay well and stay safe, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Do not forget that whatever you do in life, whether you're less or you're too much, pray to our Lord God. Alright? So that would be all. Thank you. Have a nice day ahead. Bye-bye.